or for that matter from anywhere to New Jersey. At the same time, the federal bill covering health crises of first responders whose ailments arose from the rubble of 9/11 faces an uncertain future. And millions in federal dollars for NJ Transit as well, a potential terror target. They hang in the balance of votes in the House and Senate. Shore Representative Frank Pallone has been waging a multi-tiered campaign on all these fronts. A measure to improve cell-based communication in disasters and other support to research into sudden cardiac arrest, a potential threat to young athletes who might not even know they're at risk. He's working on all of this. And the Democrat from Long Branch is in the town square tonight for this hour, fielding your questions at 732-505-1160. Congressman, welcome in. It's your first time here.
Thank you, Tom. I'm glad that I'm here.
Yeah, you had a busy day, and this is where we want to start because two of the hot-button issues were where you were in Highland Park about one and Elizabeth about the other.
Right.
So since you've been trotting the state, let's start with Highland Park because this has been an issue about refugees.
Yes.
Since the ISIS attacks. Governor's already said, I don't want anybody in here. The lieutenant governor has kind of backed him up with, okay, sure, let them come in, but they're not going to get any services.
Oh.
You talk to people today who are in the sector of taking care of refugees.
Right. These were groups, mostly faith leaders, religious leaders in Highland Park that we met with today. Most of whom, all of whom, I guess, have been involved in resettling refugees, not just from Syria, but from all over for several years now. The purpose of the meeting was basically to try to persuade the public, if you will, as well as the media, that there really is in place right now an excellent, stringent vetting process for refugees, which I don't believe needs to change. In other words, right now, I think the president is saying that he would like to bring about 10,000 Syrian refugees to the United States over the next few years. There's probably over the last 4 or 5 years since the Syrian civil war began, maybe a little over 2,000 that have come here. But the process takes about 2 years. It's the most stringent process for vetting that exists for any country. And it starts out basically if you're in a refugee camp, say in Syria or Turkey, where you have to be interviewed and vetted, if you will, by the United Nations. And then if you go through that, which takes about a year, then you can apply to come to the United States or some other country. But if you apply to the United States, then it takes at least another year with a process that involves a lot of scrutiny. You have to prove that you are, in fact, escaping suppression from, in this case, Syria, or if it was another country. And, you have to be fingerprinted. There has to be a face-to-face interview. It's a very extensive process. And the majority of the Syrians that have come to the United States that have, met this 2-year process were children. And probably another 25% were mothers. So there hasn't been any problem, in fact, with using this existing vetting process for refugees for, I think, at least 20 years. And there has never been an incident where any of the refugees have been a terrorist or committed any kind of, terrorist-type attack or act. So I think that all the hype, if you will, that occurred last week when we had this House vote on as you know, Speaker Ryan and the Republican leadership in the House put forth this bill last Thursday, which I did not vote for, which basically, tried to make it even more difficult, I would say impossible, for a refugee to come to the United States. And I just don't think it's appropriate. I mean, we have always been a country that prided itself on being a place of refuge for people that were either, oppressed because of their political beliefs or their religious beliefs or their ethnicity. In fact, we're coming up on Thanksgiving, and that's what Thanksgiving was all about. The Pilgrims came here because they weren't allowed to practice their religion in England. Mm-hmm. I really, the reason I had the forum today, Tom, was just basically to point out that there's no reason to make any changes at this point with the process that allows refugees to come here, whether they're from Syria or whatever.
All right, couple of points about that, and I welcome your observations.
Sure.
First, admittedly, it is a stringent admission process, and it takes an awfully long time. Not foolproof.
Nothing is
Nothing
foolproof.
is foolproof.
Nothing.
Okay, so we know that. It bothers me that the Syrians keep coming up because, as we've learned over the past couple of weeks, people who staged the attacks were nationals of those countries.
Right.
So we're not talking about French refugees or Belgian refugees, but we keep saying Syrian, and I think that's wrong. Okay.
Well, you mean to say that the people that staged the attacks in Paris were actually French or Belgian citizens?
Yeah,
They may have been Muslim, but they were citizens of Europe.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So to label it Syrian is to label it Islam, which
Right.
is both are wrong. The third thing, and this was something that one of our Facebook followers, Doreen, included in the story that I posted last Friday about this event. And her comment is that essentially it's not really about humanitarianism, it's about money. And it's about the money that flows into these resources, such as the Reverend Caperdale has in Highland Park.
Oh, I see.
And so in order to justify that money, in order to keep that going, there has to be some sort of rationale to go along with that. And and where does that money come? Where is the source of that?
Well, I don't, let me comment on a couple of things you mentioned. First of all, I think it is important to note that the terrorist attacks in Paris were made, I think, with the exception of one person, by people who were French or Belgian citizens.
Mhm.
Okay, I don't know if most likely they were born in France and Belgium, although I can't state that for sure, but they were citizens. And I said today when we had our forum, I said, if you were concerned about people coming into the country who could potentially terrorists, rather than looking at refugees where we've never had a problem, okay, you might want to look at, visa requirements for people coming from Europe. In other words, theoretically, if you are a French or Belgian citizen, you can hop on a plane to come to New York and not even have a visa
Mm-hmm.
because you can use your passport to just take a plane and come here. We don't even require a visa. So why are we looking at refugees from Syria or refugees from any place that have this very strict requirement taken 2 years before they could even get here, rather than somebody who can hop on a plane tomorrow and be in New York, in 5 hours? I mean, it doesn't make any sense if you think about the two. Now, when you talk about the money, I don't know, Reverend, when we were at the Reformed Church in Highland Park today, I mean, a lot of the money that he gets and that some of the people that were there at the forum get to help refugees is, privately donated. It's not just government money.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that one of the things that I want to point out is that because there were people there at the forum today who asked about the financial part of it. And part of it was, they wanted to know when a refugee comes here, do they get a job? Do they go on public assistance for the rest of their life? And I started to get the impression that they were confusing refugees from people that just immigrate to the country. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that if you want to immigrate to the United States, unless you're, coming here as as someone's wife or sister, if you're coming here looking for a job, right, then the person who sponsors you has to say that the job cannot be filled by an American. They have to have some sort of skill, if you will, that there isn't an American who's going to fill that job, okay? And, so I don't know if I don't think that's what you're getting at, but I want our viewers to understand that we're not talking about immigrants who are coming here to work, okay? We're talking about people who've been oppressed because of their religion, because of their politics, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a history in this country, again, it goes back to the Mayflower. But, think about it. At the forum today, there was a woman whose parents had come in 1956 from Hungary because of the communists. There would have been uprising against communism in Hungary, and there were thousands of refugees that came from Hungary in 1956 to the New Brunswick area, okay? We have people that came from Cuba. They still come because of the oppression of Castro. We have people who, you remember in the 70s, there was the immigration of Soviet Jews because of the oppression of Jews in the Soviet Union. So this is a very different, when you talk about people who are refugees or essentially seeking political asylum, it's a very different thing. We provide funding for them, but we're not, we're not primarily looking at it from the purpose of what it's going to cost to bring them here or whether they're going to have a job here. That's more of an immigration issue. Mm-hmm. We're looking at it because somebody's trying to kill them or torture them. And so we're giving them safe harbor, so to speak. I mean, that's been a long tradition. And I'm not saying that the economics of it are not important, but we've never focused on that because they're trying to save their lives, essentially. And that's true for a lot of these people. I mean, if they stay in Syria, they're going to be killed by ISIS or somebody else. That's why, it's a little different. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but...
No, you've answered it copiously. Now, it's Ask the Congressman for the month of November. And Congressman Frank Pallone is with us tonight. Our line is 732-505-1160, and we'll be there to take your calls right after this.
Call now, 732-505-1160. Ask the Congressman continues next. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310.
Walters Homes has been building homes in Ocean County for over 30 years. When you choose Walters Homes, you'll be buying from a home builder that builds quality homes at an affordable price. Visit one of their model homes to see why so many people have chosen Walters Homes to build their home at the shore. Model homes are located at 68 Coolidge Avenue, Ortley Beach, and 880 Mill Creek Road, Manahawkin. Walters Homes is recognized as an Energy Star certified homes market leader. Visit waltershomes.com to learn more.
New 2016 Camry, $79 a month plus 0 up to 60 months.
Get it all at Gateway Toyota.
Get it now. 2016 Camry SE Automatic, $79 a month plus 0% up to 60 months. Gateway Toyota in Toms River. GatewayToyota.com. $19.95 do it signing plus tax, tag, title, registration, and $379 dealer fee. APR based on 60 monthly payments of $16.67 per thousand financed with approved credit in lieu of rebates. Excludes dealer fees. Expires end of month.
Stocks, bonds, annuities, bank CDs, all of these can be confusing. To help you sort all this out, be sure to listen to Money with Monahan every Monday from 9 to 10 a.m. here on News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Join Sean Monahan, certified financial planner and wealth advisor, as he discusses select strategies to help you and your family improve your overall financial future. You're invited to call in with your questions and comments. That's Money with Monahan, Mondays 9 to 10 a.m. here on News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310.
Preferred Company with Joel Markell and Marianne Levy. Join Joel and Marianne every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 9 to 10 a.m. as they provide invaluable information on home health care in a light, fun environment.
Do you have a toolbox at home?
This is where I was heading. I don't have a toolbox, but Stephanie does.
Stephanie, I can see.
Preferred Company with Joel and Marianne. Brought to you by Preferred Home Health Care. Home health care with feeling on News Talk Radio, WOBM, AM 1160 and 1310.
Men, if you're like me, you appreciate the feeling of a clean, smooth shave from a quality blade. The sort of shave that cuts clean without the burn. So why are you messing around with generic razors that cost $32 for an 8-pack when you can shave with Harry's high-quality German-engineered blades for half the price? And if saving money and a clean shave isn't incentive enough, Harry's will give you their starter set, complete with a razor, 3 of their world-famous blades, and shaving cream for just $15. And shipping is always free. We'll also give you $5 off your first order. Our way of saying thank you for trying us. How are we able to save you all this money and still give you the best shave you'll ever enjoy? By owning the factory that manufactures them. That's how. So go to harrys.com right now and enter code 9988 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 9988.
Keep the questions coming. Call now, 732-505-1160. Follow the show on Twitter and tweet your questions at WOBM. Ask the Congressman continues now on News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310, and WOBMAM.com.
Welcome back. Tom Angeli with you and with Representative Frank Pallone in the town square tonight, taking your calls. And let's get to a couple. People have been patiently waiting. So let's go to our first call, okay? Thank you. You are on with Congressman Frank Pallone, and thanks for calling. What's your first name? Where are you from?
Hi, this is Jim. I'm the National Secretary and member of the National Board of Americans for Fair Taxation, and I live in New Jersey.
Thanks for calling, Jim. What's your question for the Congressman tonight?
Hey, Congressman, we heard you say in the basement of the Longworth building on the subject of tax reform that you prefer a progressive income tax. Now, we appreciate, I'm sure if you said it in the Longworth building, you said it elsewhere, and we appreciate your candor. But would you allow us to come to meet with you to make a credible argument that people in the lower cohorts of the economic scale benefit disproportionately from the fair tax, particularly over today's progressive income tax?
I'm glad to meet with you, sure. I mean, do you want to just call my office and I'll give you the name of the person in my office that you can call to set up an appointment?
I'll be happy to do that, sir.
Okay. Well, you can call my Long Branch office if you want. I mean, you're in New Jersey, so we'll meet here. It's it's 732-571-1140, and you can ask for Janice, and she can set up an appointment.
Okay, thank you. I'll be glad to call Janice.
Sure.
Thank you for calling, Jim.
Thank you.
We have another one? Okay, let's go to our next call. You're on with Congressman Frank Pallone. Thanks for calling in. What's your first name and where you're from?
This is John, and I'm from Brook Township.
John, you are also fair tax.
Yes, I am.
And I recognize your voice anywhere.
Oh, yes. Okay. I really appreciate the congressman coming on. He's one of the few congressmen that do get out there, and he does meet with the people. And I also wanted to ask him about, I just heard what he said about willing to meet with us about the fair tax. I just thought that I'd like to just, if you don't mind, just talk.
Okay, if you turn the radio down, John, it'll help, okay?
I'm sure the congressman knows, and that's Lawrence Kotlikoff from Boston University. He's an economist, and what he says about the fair tax, if you don't mind if I just read one sentence here. He says, fair tax plan costs, the fair tax is a national retail sales tax that will actually help the poor. By what it does, it reduces taxes on wages and disproportionately redistributes money to the poor. In effect, it's a tax on the wealthy, and I would just like to let the congressman know that that's something I'm sure that he would be concerned about. And these are some of the points that we would like to make if we do have a meeting with him.
Do you have any response for Jim?
Well, I mean, look, as I said, we'll meet, but I mean, historically or traditionally, I don't like these national sales or retail taxes because I disagree with you. In other words, I think that because so many people who are, low income or middle income out of necessity have to, buy things, they actually would end up paying a disproportional share of the tax. Now, I understand that in New Jersey, a lot of basic necessities are not taxed, but many things are. And I think that I know the argument is, well, wealthier people pay, buy more things, but that's not necessarily means that it's going to add up to a benefit for poor or lower income people. I mean, I think when you have a progressive income tax, by necessity, the people that are lower income pay less tax. So I would be very wary. You'd have to show me, quite clearly that lower income or middle income, working people are going to benefit from the national sales tax or retail tax. My gut tells me the opposite.
All right, John, thanks for your call. And we only have about a minute, so I wanted to point that out. What you just brought up is the bone of contention that John and I have had for a couple of years now which is that solves the federal issue as far as they're concerned, but you still have enormous amount of taxes in New Jersey. You've got sales tax, you've got the gasoline tax, you've got fees. They go under all sorts of rubrics, but they're all taxes in one form or another. And those don't go away. So solving one problem without solving the other just seems like a job half done for me.
Well, I think the biggest concern, Tom, as you know, in New Jersey is the reliance on the property tax for municipal government services. And we hear so much about that. I mean, I don't hear as much about it because it's not a federal issue. But, the problem is if you change that and you get rid of the property tax to finance local government services, then you have to replace it with some kind of income tax or sales tax, to make up the difference. And then the consequences of that are what you'd have to look at.
Congressman Frank Pallone is with us tonight on Ask the Congressman. You're welcome to join the discussion when we come back right after this.
More of Ask the Congressman coming up next. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310.
This is Marianne Levy, News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Broadcast from the Preferred Home Healthcare Studio. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Preferred is there to help you. Preferred Home Healthcare with feeling.
The Jersey Shore's news leader. Listen online at WOBMAM.com and on the Radio Pup app for smartphones and tablets. News Talk Radio.
1160 and 1310 WOBM.
Cold weather out there tonight. Looks like we'll see improving weather as we head towards Thanksgiving. Could be well into the 50s by Thanksgiving. Maybe in the 60s on Friday for the busiest shopping day of the year. We'll see a generally clear sky out there tonight. Cold, mid-upper 20s. Frost freeze, highly likely. Clouds mixed with sunshine on Tuesday, a high in the upper 40s. Mainly sunny Wednesday for the busiest travel day of the year, a high around 50. And Thanksgiving, partly sunny, dry, and mild. Highs around 60. I'm Mark Thibodeau from the Weather Channel.
News Talk Radio, WOBM.
It's amazing what you can do with a pen and a cell phone. And our friends at Verizon can help all of us do more if they use their pen to turn on the FM radio in Android smartphones. Many major cell phone carriers have recently committed to turn on FM radio in their phones, but not New Jersey's own Verizon. We need their CEO, Lowell McAdam, to authorize it. It's that simple. Then all Verizon customers can have a free entertainment option on their smartphones without incurring any data charges. And by listening in for free, you can save up to 5 times your battery life than if you were streaming music. More importantly, in an emergency, when your cell phone service is out, FM radio still works and can keep your family informed and safe, just like when Hurricane Sandy hit our state. Nearly every smartphone is built with an FM radio chip inside, but Verizon must turn it on. So if you want free FM radio on your phone, tell Verizon it's the right thing to do. Go to freeradioonmyphone.org and make your voice heard. Or call 611 on your smartphone if you have Verizon service and let them know, please turn on our FM chips. This message is sponsored by the New Jersey Broadcasters Association and this station.
Choosing the right rehabilitation provider after an accident, illness, or surgery can make all the difference in how successful you are in reclaiming independence and returning back into the community. Health South Rehabilitation Hospital of Tinton Falls and Health South Rehabilitation Hospital of Toms River offer a higher level of care that includes advanced technologies, experienced professionals, and personalized programs. Rehabilitation teams meet regularly to discuss each patient's progress, helping them target and adjust goals for more complete healing. Registered nurses who specialize in rehabilitation work around the clock to give patients that extra care they deserve, and families stay involved with their loved ones' care, ensuring a smoother transition back to independence. Learn more about the Health South difference and locations at rehabnj.com. That's rehabnj.com. For a higher level of care, choose Health South Rehabilitation Hospitals.
Hi, this is Paul Rotella, President of the New Jersey Broadcasters Association. Our friends at Jersey Central Power and Light, JCP&L, want to remind you that it's important to notify your utility company should you lose power. That's why JCP&L has a number of tools to help you stay connected, including texts, alerts, apps, and a mobile website. Customers can also report an outage on the JCP&L Facebook page. Don't wait for the next storm to register your account with your utility company. Go to jcp-l.com for more information. This message sponsored by Jersey Central Power and Light, the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station. Listen to News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310 on the go with Radio Pup, the free mobile app that puts your favorite artists right at your fingertips. Powered by AutoLenders.com. Stay connected to the latest music, news, and weather information right from your smartphone. To get Radio Pup for free, head to RadioPup.com or download it in the iTunes Store or Android Marketplace. Powered by AutoLenders.com. There's never been a better time to check out all the low mileage, one owner, certified cars at AutoLenders. See the full selection at AutoLenders.com or at any of their 6 New Jersey locations.
Your voice can be heard on Capitol Hill. Call 732-505-1160 or tweet your question at WOBM. This is Ask the Congressman. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310 and WOBMAM.com.
Welcome back, everybody. And Congressman Frank Pallone is your conduit to Capitol Hill tonight. I'm Tom Mongelli, and I do want to get to the Zadroga bill because I know you're in Elizabeth today with a lot of people about the reinstitution of that measure, and we want to get to what the status is on that.
Sure.
We do have another call, and I'd like to get to that now. So let's bring that in. Please welcome. You're speaking with Congressman Frank Pallone. What's your name? First name, where you're from, and what's your question?
Hi, my name is David. I'm from Oceanport in Monmouth County.
Thanks for calling, Dave.
Thank you for taking my call. Congressman, I just heard you mention you were talking about you're in favor of, I guess, what's currently the tax code, a progressive tax code. And my question is, do you believe the rate that's being currently used is a proper rate that should be used, or do you think there should be an adjustment?
Well, I'm not inclined to change it offhand. I mean, obviously be open to any ideas in that respect. But no, I think right now we're doing fine with the rates that we have.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your call, Dave. Boy, it's a money night here. we are going to, I really want to talk about the reinstitution of the Zadroga bill, because it brought a lot of people into Elizabeth today. What is the status now? What's the window on reauthorizing that?
Well, actually, it runs out for the health component, which is what I've been primarily concerned with, Tom, at the end of the fiscal year, which would be October 1st of 2016. Mm-hmm. But we need to reauthorize it pretty soon. I'd like to get it done in December of this year, if possible, because you don't want to have a situation where the people who work are on the staff of these clinics. We have one in Piscataway in my district at Rutgers. We don't want people on the staff to think that they may not have a job and therefore leave. It's really important, I think, for the continuation of the program that it be reauthorized as quickly as possible. And, if I could just take a minute to explain what it is. If someone was impacted on 9/11, primarily because they were a first responder who came to the site and helped out, help people in need over the first week or two or month, or also in some cases if they were living or working there as a survivor and their health was impacted by the dust and the soot and the combination of, toxic elements that were there in the immediate aftermath or even for a few weeks afterwards. We have found that a lot of the diseases that they contact, whether primarily lung diseases, in a lot of cases cancer, are very unique because of this sort of toxic brew, okay? And as time goes on, more and more people come down with diseases that came as a result of 9/11, and many of them are very rare diseases. So we set up these clinics. There's one in New Jersey and several in New York where people can go and get treated. It's at no cost. And they do research to find out what these problems are and whether they're unique and need special treatment. And we've had the program now for 5 years. It needs to be reauthorized, and we want to make it permanent because we know that this is not something that's going to go away. If you were impacted by this, 14 years ago, your situation may get worse as you get older rather than better, and people have died. So we're trying to get a permanent reauthorization and funding to keep these clinics open, including the one in New Jersey.
Is it prudent to make it permanent? Because okay, you're talking about one experience that's now a decade and a half in the past. A number of people who are either primarily or secondarily affected by it, but those numbers are going to thin as time continues.
Well, they may or may not. Look, it is true. I mean, horrible to say that, people are dying from this. I mean, we've had deaths. But it's also true that as time goes on, we're seeing more and more cases, because as you get older, you do tend to be impacted, maybe because you're more frail or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a cap right now on the number of people that can be treated. So the bill that I'm trying to push makes the program permanent, removes the cap, okay, and basically anticipates that, we're going to be treating these people for a long time, and we want to make sure that the research continues, that the treatment continues. And it's not, like I said, a lot of the people that come to the clinics, most of the people that come to the clinics have health insurance. People say, oh, you're just giving out free health insurance. That's not what this is all about. This is about continuing these programs that are unique to those who've been impacted by 9/11, whether they were first responders, which is primarily is, or people who are living or working in the area.
Are you thinking about the possibility that we would have another attack of a different nature and another set of circumstances arising? Would that be something that would have to be enveloped into this bill?
Well, that's not anticipated at this point, Tom. I mean, I God forbid, I hope it doesn't happen again. Obviously, if that did, you'd have to expand this. But right now, it's focused on the people that survived, and primarily on the firefighters, the police, and others who volunteered and came there to help.
Mm-hmm. You have worked long and hard on that. I remember the first time when you did it.
Well, it's interesting,
and you
because
had a lot of friction back.
Well, the first time that we did this, there was a feeling on the part of a lot of the members of Congress that this was sort of a New York, New Jersey problem,
Mm-hmm.
and that the federal government shouldn't get involved in setting up these clinics or paying for it. But that has changed, because I think it's not only that most of my colleagues, be they Democrat or Republican, understand that this was an attack on the United States. It wasn't an attack on New York City. But beyond that, a lot of these first responders who are impacted came from all parts of the country, and they're also now moving to other parts of the country. And if you say you're in Florida, which would be very typical, you may not want to come back to New York or New Jersey to go to the clinic, but you can go to your local hospital, and they will have a protocol for the disease to diagnose it and to treat it that has been developed at these clinics that's unique to 9/11. So it's not just a question of going to the clinic here in the metropolitan area. It's a question of having a protocol for diagnosis and treatment that can be applied elsewhere. And if these clinics don't continue, then that type of research would stop.
Let's ask the Congressman here on News Talk 1160 and 1310 with Congressman Frank Pallone tonight. And health has been a major concern for you in a number of respects. You also brought up a measure for research into sudden cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
And that was partly spurred by the death of a young football player.
Exactly. In my district, there's actually been legislation in the state legislature. Assemblyman Dignan, who's from Middlesex County, has introduced it. The study in cardiac arrest, I mean, a lot of times it applies to young people who are athletes, played football or other things. And, what we're trying to do with this legislation is bring more awareness to the issue, and so that the schools can spot it, and if there's a problem, deal with it immediately. And a lot of schools now have purchased defibrillators. It's a device to try to help someone who experienced this if they're out playing a sport. So at the federal level, it's primarily an initiative with this legislation, or at least bring awareness so that the teachers and parents would know, the signs that would lead up to a sudden cardiac arrest, so they can deal with it. And the student doesn't just die, but they're immediately rushed to the hospital, or there's something that can help them with a defibrillator or whatever.
Mm-hmm. What within this measure would raise awareness? What are the components?
Well, it basically provides information once it's passed to the schools,
Mm-hmm.
so that they, can do training and be aware, the coaches. And then it tries to encourage states and schools to buy the equipment like defibrillators that would be necessary to treat someone if they did get an attack.
You have one other thing going on with students that's interesting, and that's the app contest.
Oh, yeah, the Congressional App Contest.
It's not all serious business here, actually developing young minds with this one.
It's an interesting thing. It's been going on for a couple years. We're participating in it for the first time, and it basically allows students to design and develop an app for whatever they want, and it can even be done by a team of students. And then whoever wins goes down to D.C. and there's a display. There's a one-day program to honor the ones who are the winners, and then there's displays of their apps that are available in D.C. I mean, one of the things that's so important, Tom, is that we sort of continue to encourage young people to get involved in innovation. I've always said that the country that is the most innovative is the one that's always going to be the world leader in developing products and jobs for the future. And I often mention Thomas Edison because, I represent Edison, New Jersey, which is where Menlo Park was, where Thomas Edison had his lab and developed the incandescent light bulb. And I use him as an example because I always worry that I don't want the United States to fall behind in innovative technology, because I think that's really the reason why our economy continues to grow and why we create new jobs. And so we want to encourage young people, and that's why we have this congressional app competition. We're doing it for the first time this year, so we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, and the window's open until, I think, mid-January.
Yeah,
correct?
Until January.
Yeah, January 16th.
I don't have it in front of me, but I think so. They can
Well,
always
I do.
contact our office if they want, if they're interested.
And Chi Huang, the J.P. Stevens graduate.
Yeah, if they're interested, they can contact our office. I'll give out the phone number.
Let me guess. It's 732-571-1140.
Exactly.
Okay, good. Well, save you a couple of syllables.
Okay.
The other thing when you talk about innovation and you talk about developing minds, and developing the technology of the future, it's got to be satisfying for you. With regard to the Fort Monmouth property, having represented this area for so long and having been so close to that base for so long, to see that it is rapidly evolving at a much quicker pace than any other former base that I can recall in the last 40 years, since Brax began. We didn't see this happening in Bayonne. We didn't see it at Wrightstown. We didn't see it in Plattsburgh. Any of the major bases took decades to get back on track. Bayonne's just getting to it now.
Well, it's true. I think that in part of the reason for that is that, the property in Monmouth County is, so desirable that we are seeing new technology companies and others, coming in and developing there. But I still regret the fact that we lost Fort Monmouth because I do believe that New Jersey was the best place for CCOM and the communications and electronics command that developed a lot of the communications and electronics technology for the Army. But you're right. I mean, we have been moving forward, and there's a lot of, it may very well be in the next few years that every piece of land there is being used for, some kind of technological use or healthcare. There's so many things that are going on there now. It is true.
Yeah, it's a broad swath of acreage,
right.
And the Economic Redevelopment Authority, to its credit,
yeah, that's true.
Worked proactively to seek out companies to find arrangements that made it conducive.
That's true, and I think also in Central Jersey. We do have a lot of companies, new starts, new things happening in the technological area that, they're looking for a place to locate their company or to start their company.
Mm-hmm. Have you had any time since you've been back in the district to actually just stick around the district, or have you had it just...
Oh, no, I'm always around. We did all kinds. You mentioned today a couple of things that we did.
I know that's all your district, but it's not Long Branch. That's
in Long Branch. Well, no, I'm in Long Branch as well. Obviously, I'm going to be here for Thanksgiving over the next a few days. And but I have to get out and go around the district too. I represent so many towns. I just can't stay in Long Branch the whole time.
No, that's true. And when you get to Washington, you're even at the height you've reached, you're still one guy among 400 and change.
Well, I've been fortunate, as you know, that since January I was elected to be the ranking member, which is like the lead Democrat on the Energy and Commerce Committee.
Mm-hmm.
So that involves energy issues, environmental issues, health care, telecommunications, and the internet. All those things come to our committee. So it's been very interesting and challenging in the last 9 months to be the ranking member of the Energy and Commerce Committee.
When we get back, we're going to step out for a second. When we get back, let's talk about that telecommunications bill that you worked on to repair the cellular connections in case of a natural disaster.
Sure, I'd be glad to.
Ask the Congressman, we have one more segment to go, and we welcome your calls. Stick around.
More of Ask the Congressman coming up next. News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310.
Hi, this is Paul Rotella, president of the New Jersey Broadcasters Association. Our friends at Jersey Central Power and Light, JCP&L, want to remind you that it's important to notify your utility company should you lose power. That's why JCP&L has a number of tools to help you stay connected, including texts, alerts, apps, and a mobile website. Customers can also report an outage on the JCP&L Facebook page. Don't wait for the next storm to register your account with your utility company. Go to jcp-l.com for more information. This message sponsored by Jersey Central Power and Light, the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Choosing the right rehabilitation provider after an accident, illness, or surgery can make all the difference in how successful you are in reclaiming independence and returning back into the community. Health South Rehabilitation Hospital of Tinton Falls and Health South Rehabilitation Hospital of Toms River offer a higher level of care that includes advanced technologies, experienced professionals, and personalized programs. Rehabilitation teams meet regularly to discuss each patient's progress, helping them target and adjust goals for more complete healing. Registered nurses who specialize in rehabilitation work around the clock to give patients that extra care they deserve, and families stay involved with their loved ones' care, ensuring a smoother transition back to independence. Learn more about the Health South difference and locations at rehabnj.com. That's rehabnj.com. For a higher level of care, choose Health South Rehabilitation Hospitals.
Listen to News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310 on the go with Radio Pup, the free mobile app that puts your favorite artists right at your fingertips. Powered by Autolenders.com. Stay connected to the latest music, news, and weather information right from your smartphone. To get Radio Pup for free, head to RadioPup.com or download it in the iTunes Store or Android Marketplace. Powered by Autolenders.com. There's never been a better time to check out all the low mileage, one owner, certified cars at Autolenders. See the full selection at Autolenders.com or at any of their 6 New Jersey locations.
Did you know that the average cost for a family of 4 to attend a professional baseball game is over $200? At the same time, over 40% of all sports, concert, and theater tickets go unsold. So how come we're all paying so much when so many seats go empty? I'm Adam Canner, founder of ScoreBig.com. We found a way to work directly with teams and venues to get their unsold seats and pass the huge savings on to you. On ScoreBig.com, we guarantee you'll save on great sports, concert, and theater tickets. And we're not talking about last-minute nosebleed seats to events you don't want to see, but millions of great seats for the best events, days, weeks, even months in advance. On ScoreBig.com, when you successfully name a ticket price, on average, you'll save over 33% below box office price each time you buy, with no added fees or shipping charges ever. There are lots of places to buy tickets, but if you really want to save, then check out ScoreBig.com.
And now save even more at ScoreBig.com. Click on the radio mic and enter code 9696, and we'll take an additional $30 off your ticket purchase. That's ScoreBig.com, code 9696.
From Ocean County to our nation's capital, talk to your congressman right now. 732-505-1160. Follow the show on Twitter and tweet your questions to @WOBM. Ask the Congressman on News Talk Radio, WOBM AM 1160 and 1310, and WOBMAM.com.
Welcome back. We have a few more minutes with Frank Pallone in the room with us and taking your calls at 732-505-1160 here on News Talk 1160 and 1310. One of the things that actually came to us when it was still a germ of an idea, and we followed up with you on that, but I want you to go over it one more time, because I was one of those people during Sandy who had like a half a battery left, one bar, and running out of steam and running out of hope. And all of our landlines were shot.
Yeah.
So this is a bill that would actually require greater communication among the cell companies.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, I want to mention, as you alluded to, Tom, that in the aftermath of Sandy, the issue of communications was a major problem. I mean, that day and the immediate days. And I remember having a forum at Middlesex County College right after talking about interoperability with regard to radio and everything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the concern continues. So we basically had a forum back in September, which was almost 3 years after Sandy, and we've been monitoring, you know, things that could be done to improve communications. And so this bill was a result of that forum and the lessons we learned, if you will, from the last 3 years. I mean, there's so many examples. I mean, if I could use a couple, for example, if you have a cell phone and you say you have Verizon, let's say you have an AT&T, and then all of a sudden the towers are out, that you could then switch and use Verizon instead. Okay, that would be an example of the type of thing we would like to do and accomplish. Or if you have 911 and you know you might go to you know how some of these places like Starbucks, you know, you can go in and you can use the Wi-Fi.
Just use the Wi-Fi.
But you have to buy a cup of coffee or something, so that you'd be able to go there. We call them hotspots, and you know use the Wi-Fi to contact 911 without having to pay. I mean, these are the kinds of things that need to be done so that we don't have a repeat of the breakdown, if you will, that we had 3 years ago. But it also involves, you know, better resiliency so that we don't have a lot of things fall apart or break down, you know, in the event of a natural or some other type of disaster.
Mm-hmm. Final subject tonight of the major issues is the transportation funding bill. There's an amendment in here that would cut out several $100 million. Some of that would go to NJ Transit. And it's about density.
Well, what happened is there's 7 states from Massachusetts to the District of Columbia, New Jersey being one of them, that are part of this high density program, that they get enhanced money, more money, because they have high density population, they use mass transit more often. And there was an amendment in the House that took that money out.
What's the rationale for taking that money?
Well, because the states, of course, that are not part of the 7 say, why should we give those 7 states additional money?
Oh.
They would actually put that money into a pot that would be for competitive grants to any state, rather than it going directly to the 7. But the point is that these high-density states like New Jersey are heavily dependent on public transit. I mean, we have the largest public transit system of any state, proportionally, because of why? We're the most densely populated state, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're fighting now. I'm a conferee on the transportation. You know, I'm one of the people that's meeting with the House and the Senate to try to hammer out a bill. In the Senate, this provision was still in, so we're trying to make sure that that provision stays in so that we can get the money for New Jersey Transit. It's infrastructure, though, you know, because I know the issue, people have said, well, you know, what is this money for? It's actually for infrastructure, you know, for maintenance of, you know, rail lines, buses, whatever, so that, you know, I mean, it could be used for tracks, it could be used for stations, repair, that type of thing. And if we don't get it, you know, then it's money to do those things going to have to come from somewhere else, and you know the consequences.
Well, I know where it's
of that
coming from now.
Well, that's the problem. You know, we don't want it to come.
And
by
so that's the other point. This is a system that perennially runs in the red.
Yeah.
And they've just instituted another 9% fare hike, and the service hasn't gotten any better. The infrastructure hasn't improved. So shouldn't there be some sort of accountability on their part in here? Okay, show us what you've done with this money so we can justify giving you more money.
Well, I think there needs to be accountability, but I think, you know, this is primarily infrastructure, right? I don't know that, if anything, I think we need more money for infrastructure. I mean, I know that, you know, I use Amtrak a lot of times. That's not New Jersey Transit, but I use Amtrak most of the time to go back and forth to D.C. And there are areas where, you know, the train can't go more than like 40 miles an hour because of signal problems, because of deteriorated infrastructure. So, I don't think there's any question that we need the money, and of course we can monitor it, but it's a separate issue from money that pays for the operation of New Jersey Transit.
Okay, we have about a minute, so last question. It's Thanksgiving week. What is Thanksgiving like for Frank Pallone this week? You eating in? You going out? Having the family over? What are you going to do?
My wife will be cooking and will be home in Long Branch, as you asked. I have my 2 daughters coming, and we also invite our next-door neighbors over. So we have about maybe 10 people, no, maybe 8 people for Thanksgiving dinner, and we have a great time.
That's very commendable.
Thanks.
I figured you were going to just go out.
No, I don't like to go out for Thanksgiving.
Thanks very much for joining us tonight.
All right, thanks, Tom. I'll be back again.
Ask the Congressman is a presentation of the News Department of Town Square Media, New Jersey. Our technical coordinators are Bradley James and Zach Collins. Our programming consultant is Steve Artolino. The Vice President of News Operations for Town Square Media, New Jersey is Eric Scott. I'm Tom Angeli. We look forward to seeing you again next month at this time for Ask the Congressman. Thank you.